have all of those, as well as soil and water conservation districts. I have a Head Start program, and then I've got a number of water districts that I've been working on, because that's been a lot of my work around infrastructure. So the other thing that's kind of unique to us is that we also do a literacy program, which is Imagination Library, throughout the state of New Mexico. And that is, we're doing it in over 22 counties in the state of New Mexico. So actually, department. The other program that we work with is the New Mexico Department of Transportation. We have a specific contract with the DOT to actually help fund projects, anything from school bus routes to highways to roadway projects. And one of the most recent ones that you're seeing being constructed right now is the pedestrian path or walking path, which we call the Highway Safety Corridor, that's going from Santa Clara all the way to Bayard. That's a DOT project that we've been working on for quite a number of years, and now it's coming to fruition. So that's another one of our projects. Another facet of the organization is that we do receive funding from the federal government around the Economic Development Administration. And so that's how we try to actually create economic opportunities for our local areas. That includes everything from vocational training to actually improving the workforce and anything that could potentially attract an economic opportunity to our community. And then one of the other ones is we do have monies that come from the state appropriation, which is primarily intended to assist our local governments in seeking capital outlay dollars, from doing capital improvement planning processes, anything related to state, any kind of state program we're doing. And that's just a very diverse piece of the state appropriation process. And then one of the most recent developments is we actually have received additional funding from the Economic Development Administration on the federal side for some CARES money that we received to help in the recovery of the COVID pandemic. So we have an additional grant for 2 years to hire an additional economic recovery specialist, and we should have that person starting at the end of the week. And that is to really help us look at what other opportunities are out there from grant funding opportunities and how we recover from the COVID pandemic. So that's going to be ongoing as well. And then one of the last things that I want to share with you is that one of my specific contracts that I work with from a state level to specifically with me is around housing outreach and housing opportunities. So I do everything from workforce housing to anything in between, from housing rehab, weatherization, rental assistance, and homelessness. So I cover those angles as well from a housing perspective. So you can see that we do a great number of things, not only here from a local level, but we do other programs that extend out into the regional level, but also at the state level, programs that maybe nobody else is doing, but we are. So that's kind of unique to us. And then I wanted to share a couple of things that I feel like we've been instrumental in working with all of you, probably behind the scenes, and maybe you're not so much aware of some of the opportunities that we've brought to the Cobre School District. And so some of those that I'm just going to share with you just to kind of give you an idea, and then I'll open it up for questions. And that one of the things that I do, as well as part of a committee member, is I am part of the juvenile justice group that helps develop opportunities for the juveniles to be able to, either through tutoring programs or other programs that can help them foster opportunities for themselves that they continue on through school. So I'm actively involved in that, and I chair that committee. And then another one that I was very heavily involved in behind the scenes, and that is really bringing the drone program to Cobre School District. That was something that was not necessarily applied for by the Cobre School District, but I did serve on the Grant County Investment Committee, and therefore I put myself out there to be able to figure out a program where both school districts could get some benefit from those funds. And so that's something that I did outside of what was the norm. So I just wanted to share that with you. And then Mr. Mendoza is very familiar with this because we did have a challenge a while back with capital outlay, because school systems are very unique to the capital outlay process when it goes through a legislator like we do now. And so we were really close, as you remember, Mr. Mendoza, we were really close to losing the capital outlay dollars for the the activity bus. And so they did not understand at the state level that you had a whole different process. So we managed to be able to save that project within a matter of 15 minutes. So those are just things based on how processes work, that we can even save $1 here, or really manage or save a big project that really is a benefit to you and your administration and your kids. So I wanted to share that. Some other things that are kind of outside a little bit of the environment that is not really directly benefiting to the schools directly, but maybe indirectly, is really things around providing things for families. And one thing that's happening with some of the CARES money is that we're expecting a program to come down in the next month that is going to be able to provide rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and utility assistance to families who are in dire need. So currently they are trying to determine who are the service providers for that program. It was something that I advocated for from a housing perspective, is that from the monies that's allocated to the state, which is about $13.3 million, that we start with $1 million in each one of the COG regions to begin that utility or that housing assistance. Because what I didn't want to happen is I didn't want us to be left out of the loop and not get our fair share of dollars. So we're going to start there, and I will be a partner with those agencies to ensure that those dollars are coming our way to our region, so that our families have the opportunities to tap into that. And a couple other things is really looking at how we provide other resources to families, right? And some of that is from anything from senior food boxes to anything that can help a family with utility assistance or helping children or resources. And so I've been part of the COVID pandemic resource group that's developing all their resources from small business to local government and to families themselves. So that's kind of a presentation in a nutshell of a few of the things that I've been working on most recently, and I entertain any questions that you have from me so that I can be helpful to you.
Thank you for the presentation, Priscilla. This is Gilbert with Anna. Is it okay to have that dialogue now, Mr. Sepulveda?
Yes, if you had questions for her.
Sure. I appreciate all that you do. And it seems like, especially now, those services are invaluable to us. Is there any projection on the housing impact for the Cobre and or for the Grant County?
You mean as far as like from a mortgage assistance perspective, or are you talking the lack of housing, or and what can you be more specific in your question?
More from benefits unemployment benefits running out, the lack of employment. So even rental, just any kind of housing assistance or housing availability.
So let me just kind of talk to the challenges, right? I think there's many challenges when it comes to the housing piece. First of all, one thing we are working on, and maybe this is certainly a benefit for the entire county, and that is one of the ways that we can bring additional housing into this county. And we're currently working on a subdivision in Silver City, but we've talked about doing this for the mining district, is that the county is currently in the process of developing through a consulting group that was from a grant that we received to be able to do an affordable housing plan. What that means to all of the local governments that adopt that affordable housing plan from the county means that we have the ability to get developers down here to take advantage of low income tax credits or any other tax credit to come and develop housing in some of the areas where we know that we need additional housing. That's kind of how we're working on the one here in Silver City. That one has about, I think, 60 units that we've been working on. They're currently in the process of doing the plans for those, or the floor plans. And that is really considered a workforce housing, because that was always part of the challenge, is how do we keep our workforce employed? So that's part of it. From the rental assistance, I would certainly love to see more dollars put into housing rehab for families, just because when it comes wintertime, there's never really enough money to help those families that have special conditions in their homes, whether it be a red tagged heater, or maybe just the lack of not being warm enough because maybe they have a leaky roof or whatever that is, or roof repair. Those kind of programs are not really available for those specific things. They're primarily weatherization, or unless you get a housing rehab project, and that's the only way you can go about that. So that's kind of what I know from this end on the housing piece. With the unemployment, I haven't really had any updates except to say what was extended. What I can tell you from a congressional piece is that, and I've talked to Mr. Mendoza about this, excuse me a minute, is that the congressional delegation out of Washington, D.C. has contacted me about providing shovel-ready projects for our communities in Southwest New Mexico. And I have talked to Mr. Mendoza about that, and he's providing me some projects to include in the list. And so I've sent off that list today to the congressional delegation. And that's part of a second stimulus bill that they're looking at in sometime in this next federal fiscal year. So those are things that what I'm anticipating is that there probably will be another stimulus bill. Whether it gets approved or not, I think it remains to be seen. It's hard to say at this point, but we are being asked those questions. So it's really up to me to, in partnership with a lot of you, to make sure that I'm really being a voice for you and making sure that all of the funds that we're entitled to should be coming to us.
Thanks. I had just one other question, and that is, I understand you coordinate a lot in terms of interactions between secondary schools and post-secondary schools, specifically Western. And are there any opportunities you see for us to be able to expand in our curriculum or in the developing of a career path options that can be coordinated with the university or any other technical school for that matter?
So Chairman Sepulveda and Member Guadiana, I think if I wanted to share something with you in that regards would be just currently Grant County has an application into the Economic Development Administration, which is part of the CARES money, for starting to begin to look at how we enhance our workforce, right? So part of that includes doing a Grant County workforce plan, which is in the works right now. But it's also been some other policy work around how do we make sure that during a pandemic that we have the availability of jobs that we need in the healthcare field. And as a result of that, we know that there's been other impacts to other professions as a result. So that's going to be a huge learning lesson, I think, for all of us. What that intended grant funding opportunity is for is to be able to hire a certified economic development specialist that would work with all of the Community Workforce Alliance to look at how we improve our career pathways or improve how improve the workforce overall in this county, right? And the other piece is how do we take advantage of the dollars that are also part of the Southwestern Area Workforce Board, which is the WIOA program, which is not a whole lot of money that comes to this region for those kinds of workforce opportunities. So that's going to be another one of the tasks of that individual, is to do that. And how do we engage that? So the university is a partner in that application, as is the Chamber of Commerce. So that's one piece of it. But then there's other pieces that we've been working on from a Southwest New Mexico collaborative to try to make sure that we foster those workforce opportunities in the schools so that we can hire our people locally. So an example of that would be having the Forest Service do a fire management school at the high school level. Maybe it's an EMS type of program. What other things? So those are also currently in process, but it's also being looked at, you know, through that Grant County Workforce Alliance. And then there's a whole initiative as well as under outdoor recreation. And how do we foster that? So that's ongoing as well. So there's a number of things that we've been working on in that regard. And then of course, we're always looking at ways that we can enhance our vocational education opportunities and looking at how do we do that if there's an availability of funding, and how do we know what that is? I think from me to you, I think the most important thing is that it's really great when we have these meetings if we have a voice about what your needs are. Because sometimes I think that's the most difficult thing, is trying to really determine what your needs are and how do we manage that so that we show a united front as a county to be able to address what those needs are and what you're seeing. So one additional thing that we just got awarded money for from the economic recovery is that we are doing a program in the high schools, and they will be reaching out to you shortly if they haven't already, to be able to begin an entrepreneurship program through a program called Coach Starters that actually begins to teach high school students how to become their own business owner. And so that's something that we're just in the process now. They will be coming to the school boards with a resolution to see if you're interested in participating on that. And so that's part of a grant from the economic recovery grant that we got that we'll have for the next 2 years. So those are a few of the few things from that standpoint.
Thank you. And just to mention, Gabe has brought up your projects, especially when they relate to the Forest Service. And I hope we are able to participate in those and look forward to working closer with you from here on out.
Absolutely. I think it's just as important to me as it is to you that I'm really representing you as an individual in this community, as a county. And I do believe that there's great momentum going, Gabe, with the Southwest New Mexico Collaborative. That's really a group of people that has a great leadership and decision and moving things forward that's for the betterment of this county. So please reach out to me if you have any questions or how I can assist you in those efforts. And that's the best way for me to be helpful to you, is when you reach out to me and I can guide you the best way I know how. Does anyone else have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. Mr. Mendoza? Mr. Mendoza?
Thank you, Priscilla Lucero. Appreciate it. You're always welcome to present to us. Mr. Garcia, on skills presentation, are you available? Are you on?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Yes, I'm available.
Yes, please proceed with your presentation, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to present our SkillsUSA program at Cobre High School and to be able to provide you guys with some updates. For those of you guys who don't know what SkillsUSA is, it's a partnership of students, teachers, and industry workers working together to ensure our students at Cobre High School have a well-rounded education to enter our skilled workforce. We help students in the middle school, in the high school, colleges, and trade schools. We help students who want to pursue any type of CTE, that stands for Career and Technical Education area. We help students who want to prepare in trade school, technical schools, skilled services, including health, occupational services. We help students who are pursuing career clusters in nursing, architecture, forestry, public safety, construction, and there's so much more areas that we address. Our mission statement at Cobre High School is our students, we want to empower all of our students, all all of our SkillsUSA member students at Cobre High School and give them an edge over all other students who are not in SkillsUSA or other schools who do not have a SkillsUSA program, and give them an opportunity to explore their careers and in their education. All this is based around our SkillsUSA framework and curriculum. That curriculum focuses on personal skills, they focus on the integrity, work ethics, professionalism, responsibility, self-motivation. They also focus on the workplace skills, which is communication, decision-making, teamwork, planning, organizing, management, leadership. We also have the other core areas, the technical skills. All these skills are grounded in the academics, which are computer skills, technology, job-specific skills, service orientation, and professional development. SkillsUSA understands what our nation, our community, and all of our schools are facing with COVID-19. We have been meeting all summer, and we have launched a program called SkillsUSA Connects, which is going to allow all of our students in SkillsUSA to connect with trainings all over the nations. For example, if there's a student who wants to train or get advice or look into a career that we don't have at Cobre High School, we could connect with another advisor, another school that has that training program. If we have somebody who wants to study nursing, law enforcement, and so forth, and we don't have that training field at Cobre High School, with SkillsUSA Connect, the student will come to me, talk to me. I will reach out to all my advisors all over the country and see who has a training program that our students at Cobre High School can participate in. And so it's a great opportunity for our students to get that extra training virtually. With this, it's going to give us a better opportunity to partner up with all of our sources across the country, because usually we partner up with people here in Grant County or in the surrounding areas. Right now, we are currently partnered up with Bayard PD to help us train. Grant County Title has stepped up and they helped us. That we were working with each other last year. Our sheriff's department training our students for crime scene investigation. And last year during, I attended the Carl Perkins grant trainings, and there I met a bunch of people from all over the states and representatives during that training and during that conference. I met somebody, a representative from the Forward New Mexico AHEC, and that's the AHEC stands for Area Health Education Center, and they're a pathway to health careers. They're trying to promote people who are going into nursing, CPR, and anything to do with the health department. So I met with that representative, and we started talking, and she told me that there was some monies available through their program, and working with her, right now I'm proud to announce, they just informed me last week that Cobre Schools is one of the schools who got selected to receive over $4,000 for SkillsUSA training programs. So I'm proud to announce, and I would like to thank Bala Salgado for her guidance and her support and her partnership, and for her partnering up with SkillsUSA. Thank you, Bala, for assisting us in believing in what we're doing here. I would also like to thank, Maureen Peru and Sandra for all their work with the Carl Perkins and the Next Generation Grant. These are also CTE monies, current technical education monies, for all of our programs over at Cobre High School. It's real exciting to see us growing over there. I'm excited to keep our vocational and our areas educating our students. I would also like to inform everybody that last year we had 2 seniors who graduated from Cobre High School, and they were SkillsUSA members, and they applied for the SkillsUSA scholarship. And 2 of our seniors, Brianna Hodeke and Dysis Litch, received a 4-year full ride scholarship for tuition and books, and that's over $80,000 for tuition and books. And, I'm very proud of them, and that opportunity is there for all of our students at Cobre High School. Returning, we have 4 members of our SkillsUSA members are returning, but there's so much excitement, and we have 35 new members who are interested in SkillsUSA. And I do understand with that comes along with the more extended contracts, department expenses. So, I have been meeting with our administration, and we've been addressing all these issues and concerns to take our vocational department into the next steps. I understand and appreciate all the support from administration and our board. You guys have been very supportive in the past, us going to nationals and supporting all of our programs. I also understand the cuts and sacrifices we have to make during this time. But I strongly recommend that we continue to support all of our vocational departments, all of our programs that are headed in the right direction and are providing our students here at Cobre High School that great educational opportunity that other schools don't have, So hopefully, together we could get through all this and give our students at Cobre High School a chance to develop all their skills in all their areas, so that way they can enter our workforce or any higher education that they want. I know Toya Ortiz is in line to receive that scholarship. She's one of our SkillsUSA state champs, and it's great to see her excelling and representing our student body. So that's a great job. With that, if there's any other questions, I will be open for questions. If anybody else wants any more information on any of our programs that we're offering, they can get information on skillsusa.org. Have tons of information there. So with that, I am open for questions.
Mr. President, Mr. Garcia, I have several questions. This is Gabe.
Yes.
So one of them is, on average, how many students do you have per year in your program, Gary?
On average, we have a lot of students. Well, last year we had 13 students. I graduated 9 students. So on average, we end up with anywhere from, last year I had a lot of students drop due to the COVID-19, and we didn't get to go compete. They didn't get to go to state and go to Albuquerque or attend some of the other trainings. So I did have a lot of students drop, but on average, we usually have about, anywhere from 15 to 20 students. Something we are looking at, and I've talked with Mr. Avalos, and we are looking at, last year we tried it. We had 2 representatives from the middle school. And that's something we're looking at. I've talked with Mr. Avalos, starting a SkillsUSA program down there. If we get these students starting to think about their careers and where they want to go, maybe when they get to the high school, they have a better understanding, and also it could still help with motivation. So.
Thank you. And then my next question is, how many scholarship opportunities has this program created for Cobre High School students? You touched on it. You said there was a couple last year. What about prior to that and upcoming?
Prior to that, I'm gonna go back to 2015. My son, he graduated. When he graduated, he qualified for a scholarship when I went up to New Mexico State. If I count in the last 5 years, I would say over 10 to 15 scholarships for students. If I go into the past, I could go back all my career. We're at Cobre High School, and we're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars that our students at Cobre High School have received. And I talk to them. I have a lot of them contacting me back, wanting to give back to our community, give back to where they started. It's a great opportunity. I have nurses, architects. I have welders. Last year we had a student graduate from Western with an associate's degree in welding. So, all the opportunity is there for all of our students. I really encourage to continue our vocational department and continue, with all these students, just to give all these students an opportunity that, other schools don't provide this opportunity for our kids.
Well, it sounds to me like it is. It provides a lot of opportunities in the way of scholarships, and it's something to me that it seems like we ought to be continuing to invest in. You know, I mean, that is one of our goals, is to get kids through college. So providing those scholarship opportunities is a step in the right direction. And then, so I want to thank you for all the work you do. And then lastly, you know, how do you become a part of this program? How do you add different, you know, skills or programs into this program? Because I would be interested from my standpoint, working with the Forest Service, to try to get you to try to become a part of this. I think it's a great program, a great opportunity.
That's great. That's great to hear. We're always looking for partnerships and for people in our community who can help us expand. And SkillsUSA does have a forest wildlife component. They have a firefighting component as well. You know, that's all. I would love to sit down with you, Gabe, and go over some of those requirements and what they're going to need, some trainings, and, you know, offer it to our students at Cobre High School, you know, giving them one more opportunity to educate themselves, to help build their personal skills, their workplace skills. You know, I would love to expand on that. So, you know what, I would look forward to, you know, sitting down and having a meeting with you. And, you know, all it is just contacting me, letting our students know that, hey, this also is available. So that'd be great. I would love to expand. You know, we have our forest right here. We could tap into that and, you know, give our students that opportunity.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I look forward to meeting with you on that, Gary. So thanks for the information and the presentation. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, Gary, I'd like to echo the appreciation that Gabe has just mentioned. It's important for students and the school to have a focus that doesn't necessarily mean a direct path to universities. Although a lot of your work with the universities is excellent, there's a lot of trade schools that will provide for a very good career path and life after high school. And the more people that we have leaving high school with that plan and that kind of purpose and focus is a great task that you do. I mean, it's a great service you provide. I remember when I graduated from high school, I had absolutely no plan other than to leave Grand County. And so into the service I went, and that was probably not the best idea. But it's important that we reach out to as many kids as we can. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing.
Great. Thank you. And I agree, you know, all students aren't college bound. I know some students that have graduated from Cobre High School and gone on to trade schools, and carpenters, electricians, nurses, and they're making way more money than me as a teacher, because, you know, teachers don't get paid that much. But you know what, it is very important that we provide that opportunity for all of our students at Cobre High School. And, you know, and I just hope that we could continue doing that. I know there's a lot of other programs at Cobre High School, but I really strongly feel that, you know, SkillsUSA is doing what we need to do to connect with our students. And, you know what, all the support we could get, you know, with, you know, providing trainings and curriculum and, you know, contracts and extended days, and, you know, anything we could do to help our students, it'd be greatly appreciated. And you know what, it giving them that opportunity.
One last question. Are you, is there any services that move in the direction of like solar energy or electric cars or anything kind of in the green category?
The greenhouse effect. Yeah, there are a portion of it. We don't have, it's not a very big a portion. I know that's something that SkillsUSA is expanding to. Right now, they're pushing that drone program. You know, it's had it before to making commercials and business type issues. I know that drone program is really big right now. I've met with numerous people to try to get that involved as well. But you know, it's not a very big portion, and it's a very small portion for the greenhouse effect, yes.
I hope it grows.
Mr. Sepulveda, I have a question for Mr. Mendoza.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mendoza, I'm just wondering what level of support that the administration is giving to the SkillsUSA program.
I don't know, I don't know the exact line item right now off the top of my head, but we do have travel for them. Plus, we also have for instructional materials and then also for repair of equipment. And currently, right now, we're looking at also the additional days that are required for Mr. Garcia to work with the kids, and that's coming up here pretty soon. But I can get that information once I can access it on the computer to give you exact figures. But off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what that amount is, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mendoza. I just want to say again that, this program seems to be paying out dividends, so it seems like it's something that we ought to definitely invest in.
No, I totally agree, sir, because we do have a lot of kids that look forward to, some of them don't go to college and they do need a vocational, and I'm a product of the vocational at the high school where I was at because I got interested in welding. And had I not gotten into education, I enjoyed that program real well.
And I'd like to add, Mr. Holguin, we have been meeting, our administration and I have been meeting, to address all these issues. So, I think we are headed in the right direction. I just like to keep on continue meeting and continue getting the administration support and the board support to continue growing.
That
Now,
sounds positive.
I have one question, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned a lot of programs, but you didn't mention auto mechanics. Is that not part of it, or is there something there that's not working?
Well, you know what, there is a component with our automotive department. We do service that area. I know, like right now, our automotive area is more so technical that all these cars are basically based on computer programming and everything. And I know it's a lot harder to go and compete with all these other schools that have all this ability and all this equipment. So even at Western, we've reached out to Western to see if they have the equipment. They don't even have the equipment because just the technology in our automotive field, it changes so much that you invest into that technology and that equipment, and then before you know it, a couple of years later, it's obsolete. And so it's hard to keep up in that area. I know they offer a collision repair area as well. So, it is something that, Cobre we can definitely expand on and look into in the automotive area. But, it does take a lot of finances to try to get all that equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mendoza.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Garcia, for the presentation, and look forward to working with you the rest of the year. We're going to item C, and this is
Thank you.
item C reads 2020-2021 policy handbook update. I'd like to lead in because in contacting Dr. Williams, Don Williams, and I know a couple of you board members know of this gentleman because he's worked with us before, and he talks about Cobre and his experience coming down, and he says he's glad to have you guys come back to him. But first of all, in addressing this line item, I'm going to have to read specific readings and instructions that our policy service has instructed me to do so. And by having policies suggest that all board members receive a PDF copy to the download on the computer, and you all have received it, and instructions on how to reach the online version of the manual with the access code. So this was to be done at a regular called board meeting to ensure that the public is aware that the board has received these recommended materials and we'll be considering them for adoption. Now, furthermore, reading, by placing these items on the agenda, you will satisfy the first reading requirements of the Cobre policy revision. So before I do a recommendation on learning, I have been asked to read this statement that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we could not meet to distribute these items at a regular called board meeting. But individually, Diana Davis met with each board member and the superintendent and provided a PDF copy to download and instructions on how to reach them online and read the versions of the manual. So tonight, by voting yes on the motion, you are verifying that you have received the material so that we can start the process. And this is notifying the public that we are on the first reading and we are proceeding forward with going with the recommended revisions or areas to look at so that we can update our district policy handbook. And furthermore, the policy service has highlighted the sections of our foundation and basic commitments to the policy at which he wants us to address. And there's several items. I want to say it looks like 20 plus, but the ones that are not highlighted, I need to tell you to be careful because these are laws from the US and laws from the state that we really should not try and change them because we can't, number one, but to make sure that we're aware and that they are there. So with this, Mr. President, members of the board, I ask that we have a motion and a second so that we can vote on it and start our policy handbook update.
You heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
This is Gabe, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Holguin. Second.
I'll second. This is Gilbert.
Second by Mr. Guadiana. Any questions or to the update?
Mr. President, may I intervene, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is the time for discussion. The thing is, we're gonna have to schedule some work sessions where we need to get together. So with the permission of the board at a later date, we need to, when we're ready to meet, and then call on Dr. Williams and call on Deanna Davis to be with us. My suggestion that you need to think about it is our Performing Arts Center, we can social distance there and then use the big screen and bring Dr. Williams and address to us all the changes at that point that you may have and may want to discuss with the reference to upgrade our policy. But before we do that, officially, we can start now looking at it. And we need to direct all our changes and corrections that you want done to be sent to Diana Davis. And she has her email address here with the Cobre School District, as all of us do. So you'll send it as per her instructions. And we're at least, maybe at her recommendation, we're halfway through. We can call a work session meeting and then we can all meet and discuss it there. But that's only my, later on when we can do that. And Dr. Williams has not given me a set timeline. Okay, we're starting today, but he wants me to call him, say, for example, next week, sometime next week, and just get Diana Davis and him on a conference call and let them know more or less where we're at. So with that in mind, I'd like to get you all to approve it so that we can get started.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, my understanding was that after we approve this tonight, they will call him and tell him that we have approved to start working on the update, and then he will give us a timeline. And that's when we need to figure out what we're gonna do then.
That's correct, sir. I stand corrected. Yes, I have to call him immediately after the board meeting and let him know. But he officially, he has not even discussed a timeline. He says one of the things is he doesn't like to pressure the boards to get it done. But sometimes he says, based on experience, you know, he does have to pressure us to get it done. But I will talk to him today, and then I'll let you all know, email or personal calls, and see what, let you know what he says, okay?
Okay. Hello, Diana.
Hello. I was just going to say what Mr. Mendoza said. Yes. As soon as the board meeting, if they open it up today, then we will have to call him and let him know that you are going to start reviewing it, and then he'll give us more guidance on that.
Okay, thank you.
If
Any
I could
other
ask-
question?
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, I want to thank Mrs. Davis for the training that she gave us, and Mr. Mendoza for selecting this process, because I think it is a very comprehensive way to do things, looking at both federal and state regulations and making sure that we stay within those parameters. This is a really good initiative. My question, though, is who else? Because from a board perspective, we certainly can have suggested changes and whatever the case is, but the school, the administration knows more about the processes that go on in the school, and should be largely responsible for the first iteration of recommendations. And so I'd like to know who on the schools, on the administration side, is working on that, and about what their time frame would be to get their first iteration of suggested changes.
Mr. Guadiana, that's a good question. Thank you for asking. But it all depends what level. If it deals with instruction, we're going to rely on Jose and Joyce from the curriculum department, as well as some principals. But that would be my area that I would align them. And then when it comes to the business office, of course, it'll be Terry and that department and so forth. Yeah, we go that. But then it's all putting it together when we get to that. But board members, be aware that if when you're going through the policy update and you're concerned about a legal matter, please contact me immediately, and I will relay your concerns to Ms. Helms from the Cuddy Law Firm, and she will provide us guidance in terms of the legality, okay, and where we can go or what's going on. Hopefully I've answered your questions on that, Ms. Guadiana.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza.
Still, in terms of approximate time frame, that we could start reviewing. Well, will it be that it's waited till everything has come together in terms of what you're going to do, or can we get it piecemeal so we can start reviewing it and have more time to review those suggested changes when they occur?
Okay, Ms.
that was-
David, go ahead.
That was something that I was gonna say, Mr. Guadiana, is that after we do this and he comes up with more of a definite timeline or something, then we can start the process of something. I still don't know if we're gonna break up into a couple of us work on one section, a couple work on another, or are we gonna sit all together and work on one section at a time? I do know that when we do submit the thing for approval from Mr. Williams, he wants the complete package. He doesn't want piecemeal at a time. So we'll have to see what his timeline is and go from there.
Okay.
Anything else? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana,
Yes.
Mr. Cordova,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion passes. Move on to public input. Do we have anything from the public, Victor? Okay, if you can get with either Mr. Carrillo or Mr. Mendoza and give them some specifics on the type of funding that is out there. Thank you. Anything else from the public? Okay. Moves us to administration. Mr. Mendoza.
Yes, sir. At this time, I'm calling on Dr. Carrillo to come in and update us on the attendance policy. Dr. Carrillo.
Mr. President, members of the board, as you're aware, the Attendance Success Initiative is a plan that has replaced the compulsory school attendance. I'm going to yield to Mr. Tony Sosa, our Attendance Success Initiative coach, so he can give you a synopsis of the changes and where we're at with our plan. Mr. Sosa.
Mr. President, members of the board, good evening. Yeah, I just want to give you guys just an update, a little bit of an overview. I know that Joyce and Dr. Carrillo had forwarded to you guys some papers, some slides. So the change happened last legislative session, and it was a change from compulsory school attendance law to the Attendance for Success Act. So I'm going to go ahead and if I can share my screen, I'll show that first slide. So let me know if this works. All right, can you guys see that?
No, I can't see it yet.
What about now?
Negative.
Actually, I can see something on the screen. It's very small.
Okay.
It says you're presenting to everyone, and then that's it.
Okay, what about now?
There you go.
Okay, so what we have here is this is just the overview, like some key points of the Attendance for Success Act. I'm going to jump around just to hit the key points. The biggest thing, like I said, is that the Attendance for Success Act has replaced the compulsory school attendance law. And what that essentially does is it takes out that we're no longer looking at truancy, or we're no longer looking at truant students. What we're looking at is chronic absenteeism in students who are chronically absent. And what that means is a chronically absent student is any student that misses 10% of an allotted time, but they have to be enrolled at least 10 days. It also requires that all accurate daily class attendance be taken on any instructional day. And part of like the plan when they released data to us, if we were below a certain chronic absenteeism rate for the district, we were going to have to update, or we did have to update the attendance policies. And that has to be submitted by September 30th. And I know that district-wide, we're looking at policy and trying to make sure that everything lines up, especially trying to line things up with the board policy. So that due date, we don't have to submit a final plan. What we do is just have to submit like an intent of what we're working on. And because PED has been good about, they know everybody's kind of caught off guard with the COVID thing and trying to integrate this new law. The other thing is school attendance policies for determining how attendance will be taken in a remote learning should account for inequities. And I said it on a training about 2 weeks ago, and this was the real hot topic was statewide, was how was, other districts going to take attendance. And it seemed like everybody was kind of looking for the PED to release a universal way to take attendance. And then, like I mentioned, that with this change, it reflects that we're shifting from truancy compliance to absenteeism intervention and prevention. And I'd like to say that it was about 2 years ago that we had attended attendance success coach training, and we actually kind of saw the writing on the wall. They kind of gave us the heads up that they were going to be switching away from truancy to this chronic absenteeism. So we were able to amend our policy at that time, And what we did is we started looking at excused absences as well as unexcused absences. And that's one of the big changes that the Attendance for Success Act takes into consideration. It looks at any instructional time a student may have missed, not just the unexcused absences. So what we've done, especially last year, was we were able to look at excused absences, and we didn't have any teeth to, we weren't looking to go after parents for excused absences, but we were looking to provide, a restorative intervention, or, if a student was missing and it was just continuous doctor's notes or parent notes, we were able to see if maybe there was like a persisting medical condition that we could refer, like a 504 plan or something. Basically just connecting students to resources based off of any instructional time lost. In addition, this also provides a process for early intervention and CYFD referrals. From what my understanding through the trainings is that with this Attendance for Success Act, it's going to give CYFD and juvenile justice services more hands-on approach, while giving the schools this restorative intervention approach. And that if we can't connect students to intervention to increase their attendance, then we'll have CYFD and JPO to essentially be the teeth for us. It's also requiring that schools report absences and chronic absence, excessive absences data to PED. And in addition to that, they're creating an attendance tracking page, which will be on the PED website. And that'll allow districts to do like live look-ins on their data and see, what schools are where at, and, and I don't think it'll give student names, but they'll be able to do like student tracking and on through, I guess, like a attendance number, like a student ID number, be able to see, what students were being chronically absent. So then I'll go to the next slide, which is going to be the actual chronic absenteeism data that they released to us. And these are going to be our rates. Can you guys still see these? Can you guys see those?
It's very small. Yeah, hard to reach.
Okay. Let's see.
There we go. I got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. All right. So you can see that the overall district chronic absenteeism rate for the 2019-2020 school year was at 25.45%. That's a lot higher than I'm comfortable with, I think. But after attending that training, it seemed like everybody was not comfortable with where their percentages were at. However, we do need to take into consideration that this is the first time we're looking at our data through the lens of chronic absenteeism. So, for example, you can look at the individual schools and what their chronic absenteeism rates for the last 2 years were. So that third tab is the 2018 to 2019, and then the 2019 to 2020. And then what we did, because we were higher than a 10%, was I met with all the principals and we set target goals where we'd like to try to get our chronic absenteeism rate back to after this school year. And then, so that, like, overall, like I said, that does look like it's high, but when you look at things like from a truancy, like the compulsory school attendance law, we were writing at a 92.5% for attendance rate for the district last year. And then, that translates to looking at it through the chronic absenteeism rate, it looks a little bit higher. And then the individual rates, for example, Bayard Elementary last year was at a 92.7, Central Elementary was at a 93.4, the high school was at an 87.1, Hurley Elementary was a 94.6, San Lorenzo was at a 94%, and then Snell was at a 93.1. So as far as compulsory school attendance law, we were doing good. We were riding high, but now looking at it from another perspective, we do see what we need to address. And then there was some questions to how did they calculate the data, where did it come from? Because like I said, statewide, everybody, they weren't comfortable with what they saw. But I think that we're going to own what we have here, and we're going to fix it. And part of that is going to be this next slide on how we're going to integrate with the 4 tiers of the Attendance for Success Act. All right, so can everybody see this page?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So there's a lot of dense material here. I just want to touch on a few things, just the keynotes. So this is our Attendance for Success plan for the district. The biggest thing here is that the absent, that means when a student's not in class for any school reason. So like I mentioned that with the compulsory school attendance law, we were looking just at unexcused absences, but now with the Attendance for Success Act, we're looking at any instructional time loss. So that does include excused absences, unexcused absences. And if, there's a persisting medical condition, we wouldn't go after a student for that, but we would, try to provide some sort of, restorative intervention or restorative outreach. And then in addition to that, one of the terms that changes is the chronically absent, and I'll scroll so you guys can see that. And that's right here. So we see here is that means the percentage of students in aggregate and disaggregate by the subgroups required, or that's absent. That's how they're going to calculate their chronic absenteeism rate. And that's just by looking at the amount of days missed over the amount of days allotted. Now the chronic absenteeism, chronically absent and chronic absenteeism means a student who has been absent for 10% or more of school days for any reason, whether excused or not, when enrolled in more than 10 days. So like I said, we're going to be catching a lot more students and offering a lot more support. And then hopefully we're able to, provide those students with the support that they need. And this isn't anything new. We've actually been doing this the last 2 years. We've created a whole list of community partners that we're able to offer support from. I think the list is, last I counted, it's over 25 community businesses or agencies that we're able to do referrals for. So we can actually help students on, multiple levels. So another thing that changed is with the compulsory school attendance law, everything was broke down into a response to intervention of 3 tiers. And now we have 4 tiers. And what we're looking at is the tier 1 is our whole school intervention. And that's any students who's missed less than 5% of school for any reason. And then the second one is going to be our individualized prevention. And that's going to be students who are missing 5% or more, but less than 10%. This is when we get a little more with like student meetings and things like that. And then, as we provided in the documentation or the papers that we submitted to you, you can see the interventions that, that will coincide with that intervention process. And then the third tier is going to be the early intervention. And this is the 10% or more. This is when we see the chronically absent students. And from there is when we'll actually get into like an individualized plan. We'll have family meetings, things like that. And then the fourth one is going to be the intensive support, which this is going to be the biggest change here is going to be that a student who doesn't respond to the intervention or the family meetings or anything that we've attempted to do, we're actually going to be able to refer to the juvenile probation office as a family in need of services. Under the compulsory school attendance law, we referred kids to JPO as a neglect of education, but with this, it's going to be a family in need of services. So I'll bring you guys back to the meeting. So that was just a quick overview. Like I said, I know everybody's working, real hard to get the policies in line with what you guys are working on as well. I think that it's going to be a pretty seamless transition because we have been doing these restorative practices for the past 2 years. If you guys have any questions, I'm always around, or if you guys need input or anything else like that, I'm always open. I stay up late, so I'm always available.
Mr. President, members of the board, if I may add, I just want to acknowledge Tony and thank Tony. Tony was brought on board a few years ago when we wrote the Attendance Success Initiative grant. And so a lot of the work that has come into play, the changes, we were already implementing those. And I want to thank Tony for doing that. But also, I don't think that the PED foresaw the national emergency that we would be in. If not, they would have continued those grants. But we were very fortunate to use some of our at-risk funding to continue to support this position. We actually had 2 of the grants. We applied for 3 and got 2 for 2 years. But now we were able to do it with Tony. I mean, he is spread thin throughout the 6 schools, but he's done a great job. And I just want to commend Tony for all of his great work and support.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Mr.
Sepulveda,
Sosa, this is Gabe.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Gabe.
So my question is how successful have we been in getting kids back to school since we've had your position in place? I mean, what kind of rates are we seeing? You know, what kind of success are we seeing? What are our challenges?
So I think throughout the year, I mean, it's kind of things have kind of changed as far as what the hot topic, or not hot topic, but what the hot issue was. Now I think we're seeing a lot more excused absences, and it's things based off of like siblings are traveling for sports, things like that. We're not seeing the unexcused absences like we were. I mean, we certainly have students who are missing for unexcused reasons, but we're seeing deeper underlying causes. Hunting is always a big one, which we are a hunting community, but I think at times that's just something that we're gonna have to deal with until we can figure out how to navigate that. But I think that over the years we've been able to, like I said, break it down to where we're seeing the really, I want to say, the bad side of absenteeism, and we're able to address that. Like I said, I think we have made progress in that way. We, at one time, when we were on the Attendance for Success grant, we were one of the highly praised attendance programs in the district because of our community connections. We're a really good working relationship with CYFD and JPO. And I think the Attendance for Success Act was trying to emulate those relationships that we had with services like that. And that's, a lot of other districts weren't getting that. So this was PED's attempt to try to, put everybody on an even playing field.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Sosa, and I appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question.
I have a question as well, Mr. Sepulveda.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this is for Mr. Sosa or Dr. Carrillo, but I have a concern on the data that you gave us.
Yeah.
2018 and 19 were pretty bad. And this was before COVID. Certainly that 19 and 20 are bad, but just incrementally from the previous year. And what you said is basically you're kind of ahead of the game in terms of already having established mechanisms that are going to be going forward. But I'm worried that the mechanisms that show the data for 2018 and 19 are well above 10%. And also the last column that has the attendance improvement target, you're basically wanting to go to 0 on unless you were saying that we're acceptable at 22.4 absences district-wide, we're 22.4%. Can you explain how you just made a statement in terms of how your program is being recognized, but it doesn't connect to the data that we have in front of us in terms of its success?
Yeah, there will be a disparity in the data because this is the first time that we're seeing the data calculated into chronic absenteeism. So like I had mentioned that under the compulsory school attendance law and its standards that, we were noted and got high remarks, and that, we did look good, for example, because we had the 92.7 0.5% under the compulsory school attendance law benchmarks. However, when everything got calculated into the chronic absenteeism rate, it did show us what we weren't addressing or what we weren't able to address, because even as much as we wanted to address the excused absences, we legally had no teeth or no way to mandate that students, you know, fix their excused absences. We were only able to look at unexcused absences and attack that or to intervene that way. We were doing it as a courtesy and just reaching out to students, but you know, we didn't really have the legal grounds or legal teeth to address that issue. And then as far as like that last column with the 0%, this comes from that PED website, the data tracker. You're not able to put anything into there, but that last column is going to be our goals for what we're going to try to achieve this year, given the COVID. So yeah, we couldn't address those zeros. And that, because that's the 2021 that is, you know, they haven't calculated that data yet. But that last column is what we hope to achieve, and that's going to be like it's around a 3% improvement that the principals felt comfortable trying to address.
So your target is 3% for right now, improvement?
Yes, sir.
So we're looking at probably then 22% overall for the districts for chronic absenteeism?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's kind of high.
I mean, certainly, I mean, we would like to achieve better, but we didn't want to set ourselves up for failure.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Mendoza?
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, moving on to Administration B, update on bond projects. Mr. Peru, are you online, please?
We have to vote on the attendance policy, Mr. Mendoza?
Okay, my understanding is this is going to be a part of the update policy revision. I recommend that we not act on voting on this, even though it does have that, because we are going to be addressing it here in the next few weeks under the policy revision as a whole. So I do recommend that, sir, and board members.
So your recommendation is that we table this?
Correct. Yes, sir, and take it to the time that we have it in the policy, the next couple of weeks.
Okay. You heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
Do we need to move?
So moved, Frank. Motion. He's on mute. You're on mute, Joy. I'm sorry, folks. I'm falling asleep here, I guess. Motion by Mr. Cordova, second.
I'll second, but do we need to make a motion to table something?
Yes, it's an action item, so we need to take some kind of action on it.
Okay, I'll second.
Second by Mr. Juliana. Any other comments? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana,
Yes.
Mr. Cordova. Yes. Myself, yes. Motion carries. Move us to item B.
Item B, update on bond projects, Mr. Peru.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Board President, the members of the board. Just wanted to give you a little bit of update on some of the things that we've been doing. First of all, I just want to congratulate. We got a new plumber. He started today. He hit the ground running. We hired Felipe Bencomo, and this morning when he arrived, I just told him, I said, I hope you're ready to hit the ground running. And today at 5 o'clock, when we were getting ready to get on the board meeting, he had come by and said, you know what? There's a lot of things we have to do in the district. And I said, yeah, there sure is, because I had a list a mile long for him already. So hopefully some of our plumbing issues will hopefully take care of themselves now that we have a full-time plumber on board again, and that way we can get those things taken care of. Also, just want to go over, I visited also with the Hellas representative for the track. That's one of the bond projects that we had already completed. We have some warranty work that we're going to have to be doing. We have a couple of areas on the track where there's like humps in the track, and what we're worried about is some of the kids might get hurt as they're running in stride and stuff because it's not on a flat surface the way it should be. So they're coming up so we can look at it. I haven't marked out already the areas that they need to fix. So they will be hopefully coming in the next couple of weeks so we can look at that and get that completed again. Also, we did the final walkthrough on the bathrooms. Everything is completed by the contractor. We moved to give him final payment at the bathrooms here at the high school. So those are completed and taken care of. We also are working, one of our projects that's taking us a little longer to get done is our portable out at the Hurley Elementary. All the plumbing has been completed as of Thursday of this past week. Mr. Bencomo from Bencomo Plumbing is waiting on parts to just finish up one of the commodes because we were able to salvage the commode, but he had to order some parts for it. So we'll complete that. And after that, all the water is completely done. We have good pressure. The water was running really well, except for in that one commode. We finished that up. We also received the PO to do the skirting on the 23rd of last week. We received the PO, visited with the contractor. We're trying to get everything lined out. So he can order the material and get that going so we can have the skirting done. As soon as the skirting's done, we'll be able to move. We already have a contractor on board to do the ramps. Some of the material has already come in for the ramps, but we have to get the skirting done first, and then in order to be able to move and get the ramps done. Some of the regs have changed, so we will have some pretty lengthy ramps in the back of the building. In the front, we will have stairs, because stairs will be the only thing we'll be able to put in the front due to the space. But in the back, we will have them where they'll be ADA compliant, and we'll have those completed as soon as we have the skirting, like I said. One of the things is we were able to save quite a few $1,000s. Our HVAC person, Jaime Treviso, went out and worked on our systems. We thought we might have to buy some new systems. He was able to order parts and got everything up and running on the HVAC systems out there. They have two different systems. It's a heating and cooling units on the building already. They're mounted on the buildings. He was able to get them going. Right now, he is looking for the filters that will fit in there. So we will have the proper filters for that we were having to order. Instead of the 12s, we were ordering the 13s, but they were an oddball size. So he was trying to get those ordered and get those coming. But like I said, luckily we were able to save quite a few $1,000s by him being able to complete them and get them running. So hopefully if everything goes well, as soon as we get the skirting and everything and get the running, the ramps done, we will paint the portable also. We will go out to bid on the painting of the building, the portable, so that it will match Hurley Elementary. And hopefully it won't look as odd. Sometimes when you put a portable at a school, it looks odd because it's a totally different color. So we're looking at trying to paint it and match it all up to the Hurley Elementary. Any questions on what I've gone over so far?
Yeah, regarding the bathrooms in Hurley Elementary, in the school, in the
building itself?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There was a problem with the boys' bathroom on the east end of the school.
Yes, sir. And now that we have the plumber on board, he will be able to address those. That's one of the things on the list. The list I gave him is probably, we have about 20 major items that we have to get fixed, and they're all seem to be in the bathrooms at the elementaries. And so now that he's on board, he will be able to diagnose them and get them going. Since we didn't have a plumber on board, we were doing the bigger projects like, with the person that we had contracted. But now that we have a plumber on board, we will be able to get some of those things taken care of. I've been also working with some of the custodians on how to take care of some of the simple things, because they didn't know how to adjust the dampers on the commodes and things of that nature. So I've gone to all the schools and showed the custodians how to adjust them and how to shut them off, because some of our custodians didn't even know how to shut the commodes off if the water was running. So I went over and I showed them how to do that so that we would hopefully not waste water, because there was a couple of those that were running and had been running, I guess, for like a period of like 20 hours. And so when I went over and showed them, now they have the adjustment, because one of the things, sometimes they start running also because a lot of our bathrooms are battery operated. And so some of our faucets are battery operated. If they don't have the batteries go down low, the dampers don't close all the time and they don't flush correctly. They're real different than just having a manual commode or a manual faucet.
The other things were, there was the HVAC system in the school itself that hasn't been working since August.
Yeah, and that's those pumps. Remember, I had mentioned in the previous board meeting, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 board meetings ago, we are waiting for those pumps to come in. 3 of the pumps went down. At first, it was only 1 pump that went down. And while had ordered the first one, 2 more pumps went down, and that handles all the HVAC system for that school. So that school right now does not have any cooling or heating. We're waiting for those pumps to come in. There are a 6-week lead time on them to build them, because they don't just have those in the warehouses. They build them to specifically the specs that they need for the system that's going into. So we're waiting on those. We have it contracted out to Enoch Mechanical out of Las Cruces, and they're the ones waiting for the pumps. He said as soon as the pumps come in, they will come up and install them, and then we'll be able to have an HVAC system in there.
So we don't have a spare parts inventory or anything like that?
No, they're so expensive, Mr. Wanda, that each pump is running as about $6,000.
Okay. The other
That's
parts
for
have
the-
to
that's for
do
the
with the
geothermal.
portable. The other parts have to do with the portable. You're talking about the skirting, but the building is really unlevel. I mean, you can walk in and see that it sags towards the east.
It's actually level. It's actually level. When we leveled it on the pillars that we have, and we can put a level down, and it's level all the way across. Unless we have maybe some plywood that's going out under the carpet, but I mean the building is level.
Okay.
When
The
the
other part
inspectors
was,
came in, the contractor, when they came in, the inspectors for the state, they check all those things, and we were level.
the other part, the wiring, the fire alarm system and the intercoms.
That is still that is in the same type of project with the one we have to do for Snell. Snell still does not have it. So right now I contacted the contractor that's going to be doing it for us. They're out of Cruces, because they had submitted all the plans, and the plans were for Bayard Elementary, Snell Middle School, and Hurley Portable, so that we could get that taken care of, so we can get the intercoms, the fire alarms, and everything. The plans are still sitting at the State Fire Marshal's office. I made a call up there, and they said that they're still working from home, so they're a little behind. And I told them, that we needed to really move on this, because if we have an opportunity to move kids in, we're not going to be ready to go with the kids. So right now we have, like I said, Hurley Elementary, Bayard Elementary Portable also, and Snell Middle School that are not able to, that we don't have the fire alarm system and the intercom system ready for them.
See, going forward, one of my biggest concerns is that we don't hear about the stuff that still needs to be done. We kind of get the report that, this has been done, and that by default kind of gives us a readiness perspective when it's really not. I would really appreciate if it's not to throw rocks or anything, but it's for us to get a full appraisal of what still needs to be done.
Okay.
And it's very critical going forward.
Okay, not a problem. And as soon as we do get the approval from the State Fire Marshal's office, I will let you all know. I know that I hadn't mentioned it in quite a while. They've had the plans for, I want to say, since like last April, and they still have not completed them. But as soon as I do get those in, and the contractor calls me and tells me that he's got the stamped approval and he's able to work, I will let you all know also.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
What's the movement in terms of the other gym, if we're going to build another gym, or all the other projects that we're supposed to do with the bond?
On that one, we are waiting. We have the architects worked on a plan, and we just haven't brought it to you all yet, because we're waiting to finish up some of these other projects to see if we're going to be able to, how many or how big we're going to be able to build it, but not just how big, but what we're going to be able to put into it. Like if it's bathrooms and what size of bathroom we're going to be able to do for the central gym.
So George, any update on the the auxiliary gym that was supposed to go where the tennis courts are?
That one is on hold because we're the only one that we're looking at being able to afford right now is going to be the central gym, the central elementary gym.
Okay, so on hold indefinitely.
It's on hold for right now. Yes, sir.
And the funding available for either of these projects is sufficient to go forward with both, or is it only sufficient to go forward with one?
And look, right now, the way it looks, it's going to be sufficient to only go forward with one. Right, Mr. Mendoza?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
So is there anything then still in excess of the one? If we do the one, would there still be any left over for, say, anything we need to do related to opening the schools up again?
I don't understand the question, sir.
Basically, like what I mentioned earlier was that there was still plenty of money that exists from the bond issue that we probably could have used in buying the computers. So basically, I'm asking, will there be any opportunities for any revenue left over if we only build one gym? There may not be enough to build a second gym, but it may provide us some kind of a security blanket in case we need additional money for preparedness for opening the schools.
The bond money cannot be used for other things than what we said we were going to be used for in the bond. Right now, and correct me, George, if I'm wrong, but the reason that we can't build the other gym or both gyms is because of the cost of steel when they stopped the import of steel from Mexico. Is that right, George?
Yes, sir. And from Japan, also in China. It's when they put the tariffs on place that really affected us really bad. The tariffs that Trump had put in place back a couple of years ago, and that's what has really affected us. And the prices haven't come down. It seems like they're going up. I'll give you an example. I was looking at some material for a couple of things we have to do. Just on the wood alone, for example, I called Foxworth on Friday or Thursday or Friday. The 2x6s have now gone from costing $14 and some cents for a 16-foot 2x6, and they are now sitting at $25 for a 2x6 by 16. So the price has also gone up for wood now also tremendously. And a lot of it is, I asked them, is the price is going to come down soon? But one of the things they said is that right now, since they are not an essential business either, that it's just the demand that they have there. And so the price went up tremendously on even just the wood material now also.
And concrete.
Concrete has gone up also, yes, sir.
Anything else?
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mendoza?
Yes, sir. Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
No problem.
This discussion review on status of school reentry readiness. Joyce Perella, do you want to bring him up there?
Mr. President, members of the board, there's 4 items that I want to talk about as far as preparedness for reentry. The first one is PPE, and we have finally received all our PPE. So we've delivered to the schools masks, gloves, gowns, hand sanitizer, face shield, thermometers, signage, and we have a big order in for some additional cleaning supplies. We did also order foggers for each school. We're going to wait to deliver those until we get the safety equipment to be used with them. We're ordering some goggles and some respirators and gowns for the custodians to use with the foggers. So once we receive those, then we will get the foggers out to the schools. We have also ordered clear masks for teaching staff so that makes it really hard when you're wearing a mask to see what a person is saying or their lips moving. And so we did order clear masks to be able to support student learning through that. With the Chromebooks, those have been distributed. We distributed 88% of the Chromebooks when we had the distribution here that one week at central office. The remaining Chromebooks that had not been distributed, those have been given to the schools, and the schools are contacting students, and students are continuing to pick those up from them. When we look at the health and safety priority for our district, we were able to move some positions around. And so we have 4 people that we've moved over to help with health and safety. Part of their position will be helping the nurses for part of the day, and the other part will be helping with sanitizing in various schools. And then the 4th thing that we're working on right now is Aneta Costa has organized some reentry mock sessions. So we have already done one at Central and one at Hurley. And what we're doing with these is, and you'll get a lot more information at another time, Annette will give a more detailed presentation. But what we are doing with these is we're using adults who are pretending to be students. And so we're having them go through, how are we doing temperature checks in the morning? What are we doing if a student comes in with a fever? How are we serving breakfast? How are we serving lunch? How are we dismissing? How are we walking down the hallways? So all those things are being practiced as part of the drills. We are working on Bayard Elementary. That'll be our next drill, and we'll continue to go through so that we can also include San Lorenzo, Snell Middle School, and Cobre High School in those mock drills.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
I have some questions, Mr.
I do too.
One is, I'm glad to see the foggers, but we settled on only 1 per school.
Yes,
And
we did order 1 per school.
I appreciate that. I would ask you to reconsider the high school because it is considerably larger. And
So the high school did get some additional foggers, so they will have a total of 3.
awesome. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. There's when I did my walk around, there was a lot of situations that they looked that where students would be at a table as opposed to a desk, and it looks like some and this was at the middle school, and probably lends to the high school as well. But it sure looked like some plexiglass in between the two in a table was something that seemed like would benefit a great deal for those students. Are we looking logistically? And before even that far, I really appreciate Mrs. Acosta's efforts to do the walkthroughs. That is really cool. I think that is giving people some thought process, and that's a step in a real good direction. But the other part,
they have been very, very beneficial. We've learned a lot. We've made some huge improvements even from the first one that we had. So those have been very helpful.
and I can see why. I can see why. But along those lines, one of the things that is still lagging that has to do with IT. Teachers have been working very independently at each, well, not so much independently, but within each school. Schools have been working independently on setting up a configuration for the distance learning. And they've been very innovative, but also to the point of some of them spending their money to buy connectors so that they can do multiple monitors, do at least 2 monitors. There should be a standard, I mean, each school is trying to figure this out. This should be a standard configuration spread out because the needs are the same. The teachers need to see the students as well as the information they're presenting and be able to go back and forth seamlessly. So dual monitors should, I believe, should be, and they do seem effective for those that have set them up, but they've done so independently, and that is going to be with us for a long time. Once we get back into the school session, it will be, there's still going to be half of the students out on distance learning. So I would hope that we would set up a standard configuration that would allow teachers to be effective with the students at home. The other part too is that every teacher had to come up with their own way on how to contact students about assignments and how to receive assignments. And that too, I think, would benefit a great deal if there was if that was standardized. it is very difficult for especially students in the middle school and the high school that have multiple teachers to have different formats, expectations from different teachers. This is an area that I think would provide consistency and would lower the anxiety at home. The other part is that, are we identifying those that are having the D's and the F's and having the technology problems? And are we going forward out into the areas where the technology problems exist? Many of our students are being raised by grandmothers or even parents that are not tech savvy. And so we really need, I asked the question of how many people didn't have a computer, and the answer wasn't known. But now we know how many students are getting D's and F's, and how many students are having difficulty getting online. And I would really like to see a strategy that goes forward addressing that. The strain that puts on students not knowing what to do and getting F's, and especially if you're looking at graduating this year, it's tremendous. I really appreciate that Ms. Ortiz brought this up, but I really want to see a comprehensive effort to bring those students to the best level of education that we can provide them. And letting each teacher on their own to figure it out is I don't think, the right thing. I think there's things that can be standardized across the board, and there should be resources available so that they're not the ones having to teach the parents that are not very tech savvy on what needs to be done. And the other part is that I'm glad to see that we have a plumber. I'm just dismayed that he's addressing things that happened back in March. The conditions of the schools need a much more proactive response, and that's going to hurt us with the conditions of the classrooms, with getting the students back in. But we also, the other big part is that teachers, principals, well, mainly teachers, have kind of been left out of the planning process. They were brought in really late in the planning process when we were announcing the schedule to go back online. I mean, sorry, in class. But
Mr. Guadiana,
yes,
excuse me, can we bring this up on the second public input? Right now it's for the reentry.
this is for the reentry. I'm saying that go to the teachers and ask them what they need, because they can tell you more about specifically what they need, like the plexiglass things to separate the desks, the students, different things like that. And to me, what this reentry program is suffering from is being exclusive of people that can give us the best input. And that's the teachers, and largely the parents and the students, but mostly the teachers.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the plumber.
No.
Abe, you had a question?
I have a couple of comments and a question, and I would echo a lot of what Gilbert said. I feel like, not to be overly critical, but I feel like we've had 8 months to prepare for the reopening of schools and sports. What I heard last week at the Region 8 meeting of the school board Region 8 meeting was that the state had provided funding to purchase equipment, supplies necessary to provide for the safety of our kids as a reopening. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Mendoza, why are we not prepared to reopen school and sports? I don't understand it. We've had 8 months to prepare for it, and we placed a lot of the onus back on, coaches and teachers, and without any sideboards from the administration to figure out how to make that reopening happen. An example of that is that I heard that the coaches were trying to figure out how to purchase needed equipment to safely have practices by purchasing it with money that they had fundraised. And to me, that's very concerning. It's like, why, if the state is providing us money, why are the coaches having to use fundraised money to purchase equipment that they had requested, in weeks and in some cases months ago? I don't understand that. And I don't like to move backwards. I'm happy, on Joyce's report out that we're moving forward and that we've ordered stuff, PPE and foggers and, getting some people in to help with health and safety. And it sounds like we are moving forward, but I just, I'd really like to know why why are we not prepared? Why we knew the target date was around Labor Day and we were not prepared to open. And now we're in the situation that we're in.
Okay, one thing that I can say is a lot of this PPE was ordered months ago. Some of it did get lost in the mail. Some of it was back ordered 3 to 4 months. And so that's part of why some of this has taken a long time to come in. A lot of this, like I say, was ordered way back as soon as we got our money from CARES. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would echo what Gabe said, and there's so much infrastructure that we have that we could have addressed outside of the PPEs that just didn't happen. And I'm disappointed very much so that we're at where we're at, but I look forward to going. At least now, I don't think we're sleeping until January 1st when we need to start again. I think now we're getting a better understanding, a physical walkthrough, and some exercises that might make us prepared. I would hope earlier than that, but because of this process of having to go through this kind of discussion, I think we're going to be more ready than we would have if we hadn't had this kind of input on the process.
Okay. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you. Brings us to finance.
Yes, sir. Under item A, it's the bar initial budget. Ms. Holguin, are you online? Ms. Holguin?
I'm here.
Okay.
So on the agenda, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Mendoza, the bar that we have is for the breakfast after the bell. The award was $333,333. And you have the worksheet that shows the breakdown for each school. Bayard Elementary, 10,008, Central, $12,065, Hurley, 7,000, and San Lorenzo. So in a regular setting, breakfast after the bell would be how we usually serve. I'm not sure on Ms. Grijalva how she plans on putting this into place, but the basic need right now is to get budget authority for those $33,000.
Mr. President, members of the board, the administration recommends that you approve as presented.
You heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
This is Frank, so move.
Motion by Mr. Cordova, second.
Gilbert, I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guadiana. Any other questions? Call for the vote. Mr. Holguin,
Yes.
Mr. Guadiana,
Yes.
Mr. Cordova,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion passes. Moves us to superintendent report.
The only item I have put on there is that the next board meeting will be October 12th, 220. via YouTube live stream at 5 o'clock. And the next item on the agenda is student rep. Ms. Ortiz, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good evening, members of the board. I really don't have much this week. Just students and athletes are really getting antsy and ready to get back into the classroom and onto the fields.
We hear you loud and clear, Ms. Ortiz. Thank you.
Thank you.
What, Ms. Ortiz, what is their perception of the movement that's being made? Do they see it adequate? Do they see it inadequate? Do they have any things that they would like to see done differently? You're muted. You were muted. I didn't hear your answer. Still can't hear you.
Tony,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
you can't hear me?
Yes. This is turning into the the Verizon commercial of a long time ago. We can't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Computers.
It's working.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Where's your volume?
I say, could it be the same thing that happened to us at the
Okay. Can you repeat your question for me, Mr. Guadiana?
Yeah, yes, the people that you spoke to, what do they think about where we're at now? Do they have any recommendations of what we could do differently?
Can you go ahead and repeat your question?
Board members, I think Mr. Carrillo has a recommendation to help her.
Okay, they're muted. Where's yours? Go to yours. Go to yours.
You might have a better connection. Just use your mic.
Okay.
Good.
It's about the portion 917.
There's just many mixed emotions going around. I did get many letters stating many different opinions. Again, if they can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Toya.
Use the mic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, Toya.
Yes.
Mr. Mendoza. Could you contact her at some point later on and ask her to share the letters with you so that you could pass them forward to us?
I sure will. We'll contact her. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that.
Think that
Yeah,
would
we're gonna have
help
to
me.
move on because she's breaking up or something's happening with her. So if that can happen, we can sure take it on at the next meeting. Other public input, Victor?
On the email side, I haven't received anything. I'm having a slow connection down in the area that I'm in. So let me ask Daniel, or Daniel, if you're listening in, if you can provide anything that's coming off the YouTube feed.
We can hear you, Daniel.
Okay, so we've got a question from Hampton Burnett. Addressing the special board meeting from last week, it seems most of the concerns with sports practicing are addressing indoor facilities in the district. What are the concerns with completely outdoor sports, such as cross country? It is low contact and completely outside. Would you be open to allowing outdoor practices?
Okay. Thank you for that, and we'll see what comes up here in the next for the next meeting.
Okay, other than that, that's the only question we had.
Okay. Any other thing? Items for next agenda. Yeah,
Mr. Sepulveda.
you're still real broken up, Tanya. Oh yeah. We still can't understand a single word you're saying, Toya. So save your things and we'll try to take them up at the next board meeting. Thank you. Items for next agenda.
Mr. President, this is Gabe.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make it a standing agenda item, a decision on whether or not to re-enter our hybrid school re-entry, whatever you want to call it, re-enter the hybrid scenario, the decision to do that or not. I'd like to make that a standing agenda item until we go back to school in a hybrid manner or full-time. I'd also like to make it a standing agenda item at every board meeting that we make the same decision on sports until we come to, an agreement on that as well. I don't feel like that. I thought that that's what we had discussed last meeting, that it was going to be a standing agenda topic, but that both of those things.
I don't know if we made a standing agenda item for hybrid. I know that we made that decision to go until the end of the semester and then review it to see where we go from there.
That was not my understanding. My understanding was that we had made it a decision to go to the end of December with the option to reevaluate every board meeting. That was my understanding of our decision.
Yeah, we could reevaluate, but not go on until January, when, at the end of the semester.
Well, then what's the sense in reevaluating?
Just
I
to
thought that was
see
our
how
decision.
just to see how things are going as far as the count. As you know, the count in the county has been going up. We're at 90 some. The count in the state has also been going up. And so that's something that we need to keep in mind. And then also see where we are with the governor's, if we're going to go to stage 2 or stage 1. As far as I know, we're still in stage 1. She's thinking of going to stage 2, where, we can increase some of the people and the number of folks that are around. Right now in sports, I know that they have a 9-to-1, nine persons practicing, but then there's also that thing that one coach, 9-to-1, and in football that might be the first string that can practice, and then as you know, we go both ways sometimes. So what is that one person that was there earlier, can he be there in the afternoon? Those are some of the things that we need to look at, Dave.
Okay, well, I obviously misunderstood when I voted then, because I would not have voted for that. I was of the understanding that reevaluating our decision meant that we would reconsider the reopening of school at an earlier time before the end of the semester.
I don't know, but I guess correct me somebody if I'm wrong.
Mr. Sepulveda, I had made the original motion about extending out till the beginning of next year as far as reentry. Then Frank made the suggestion about putting it for us to review every month. As a matter of fact, I think he said every board meeting. And in that sense, I got the gist of, well, that kind of is leaving it as an opening to open sooner than that. But so long as it was an open conversation, I didn't have a problem with that. Frank can probably give you a better clarification on what he intended. But I agree I interpreted the same way Gabe did.
Mr. President, this is Frank. My understanding was that we could discuss it, but we did not put that every board meeting we're going to address it. We had said that we would decide how often we would look at it. And the way that I look at it, nothing has changed from the New Mexico Activities Association. So we're going to be discussing the same thing that we voted on last time. But it's up to the board, see what we decide.
Other comments?
Well, if it's open for discussion, I'd like to recommend that we reevaluate and make that decision again on whether or not to reopen and to allow sports, because I think we're hurting our kids.
Are you saying, Gabe, that we do it every board meeting?
Yes, sir, I am.
I don't think that's right.
Well,
but it's up to the rest of the board.
Would that be every board meeting, Gabe, or at least once a month?
I'd like to reevaluate every board meeting. I mean, we just got new information today that Joyce provided, that we got additional PPE in, we got additional cleaning supplies in, sanitizing equipment. That definitely weighs into my decision on how to vote for reopening and to allow sports to move forward. So I would like to see it as we get new information, which we have no idea when that could be. I think if we have a standing topic to be able to discuss and to reevaluate our decision to open or not, I think it's prudent to do it every board meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, my feeling on that is I think we need to look at the numbers that are going on. Yeah, we can have all the PPE, all of that stuff that we can get, but as long as our numbers keep climbing, I don't think we're in a position to open, because
think
Sure, we tested the coaches. We're gonna test the teachers, but are we testing all the kids that are coming in?
I think you're right. I think we need to evaluate all the information, not just one piece of it, one piece of data. We need to evaluate all the information.
And I still stand by the information that we get right now at the board meetings is very critical in moving forward and making sure we will be ready when that day does come. So the weekly, every board meeting have this discussion is extremely healthy. I think it helps what the leadership be accountable in moving that direction. We weren't ready. We weren't ready for September 8th by any stretch of the imagination. And we're still getting information about what's working, not what's not working. So I think it is a very useful exercise. And I would agree with Gabe that it should be something, it is our biggest responsibility right now. And I agree it should be part of our discussion every board meeting.
The last board meeting, if I am correct, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The last board meeting, I think one of the big issues was that the coaches were not being tested, that they got tested early in the summer. And the board, somebody on the board or all of us on the board agreed that they need to be tested more often. We have not gotten a report from our athletic director as to where we are with that. I think it needs to be put up for discussion on the next board meeting.
Yeah, it wasn't on the agenda. And so that's what we should do is put it on the agenda.
I don't make the agenda. That's the president and the superintendent.
That's right. It should be on the agenda, and all the pertinent information should be brought forward so that we can make an informed decision. That's what I'm saying, is that if we don't have, we should evaluate all the information. We should evaluate the rise or decline in case numbers. We should evaluate whatever processes we put in place, the testing that we've implemented, the new supplies that we've received, the new way of sanitizing, all the information. We should be able to reevaluate that every board meeting, discuss it, and make an informed decision. Otherwise, we're going to wait and miss an opportunity, I think. We got to discuss it. I think this idea of not discussing it and just putting our blinders on until the end of the semester is not the right approach.
Nobody said till the end of the semester.
Well, that's what our president
That's
just said.
We did say
No,
that.
I don't think so.
I made the motion.
If we look at the minutes, we can tell.
Okay.
Okay. I'll visit with Mr. Mendoza and see what we do for the next meeting. That's okay with everybody.
Yep. I'd like to add an agenda item, and that is a report from the budget committee. And the budget committee should be making a report, hopefully this time around, about staffing with regards to preparedness to the reopening, as well as funding purchases and stuff like that, repairs being made prior to the reopening. So hopefully we'll have a productive meeting this next time around, and I'd like to present where we are with that. Also, there's a $1 million reduction that is being imposed on the district as well as throughout the state, different figures, of course, but that would be part of the discussion from the budget committee with an assessment of the recommended cuts going forward or possible alternatives.
Mr. President, you're the chairman of the budget committee, aren't you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Is that going to, I don't understand what Frank's intent was with that comment. Was it that this is not going to be part of the discussion, or?
I don't have a say-so on part of the discussion or so. I just wondered who was the chairman of the budget committee, and I asked a question.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? And items for next agenda. That was it. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, everybody.